Hey everybody, so welcome back to the DZMC Gaming Channel. So I just got a message that we had won the game, and I think our player saw the writing on the wall, if you ask me, and there was no way he was going to be able to save Moscow. So we are now, oh, we're gold! Yay! So there you have it, folks. 6-1 gets you gold. I don't know what gold, probably like 453, something like I don't know where that number just came from, but we're into gold. So let's look at this game. Horizon Walker. Let's check out his skill level. Okay, so season 10, relatively new player. 5 wins, 2 losses. I just handed him his second loss. Assuming it's a him. Pretty decent. So this is what got you ranked in the 300s back in last season. Was a 70% or 60 odd 70% win percentage. So my critique of the game. Let's go look at it. See what happened anyway. He probably just didn't even, let's see. Oh, he made purchases. 3 infantry, 2 fighters, probably 2 fighters here, 3 infantry here. Yeah, nothing he was going to be able to do was going to save him. I was just going to be able to keep bombing Moscow and forcing him to only build 1 or 2 units. And whatever this damage this tank was going to do was going to be stopped here anyway. I was going to come here, and it was going to be the end of that. Anything down here was going to be stopped by this. And, of course, we were going to retake this. So, my critique of the game. Oh, hang on. So, I just got to pause it for 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. So, yeah, folks, I'm back. Yeah, so, okay, first things first. Not being able to keep the pressure up in a KJF by at least the UK, preferably the UK carrying along maybe a couple of transports from the US to assist, is just a death. I mean, it's just a seal of death for an allied player. If you let Germany have this much freedom, and the truth is that I screwed up and allowed this attack with this air raid attack on Karelia, which kind of delayed this another 2 turns. That was my fault. But regardless of that, allowing Germany to own these territories here and not have to trade France and Italy and so on and so forth, really cheapens the KJF effort because the Allies just don't have enough. They don't have enough. I mean, if you're going to do that, then you really, when I was up here, what you really should have done is force the Japanese in places they didn't want to be comfortable, that they weren't going to be comfortable at. That's what you do, even if it costs you a small fleet to like here and there as the Allies, to force the Japanese out of their comfort zone, which is basically along the coast, is a death nail in a KJF. So to my opponent, Horizon Wizard there, you might want to pick up a lot. I mean, it looks like you're doing well. You're starting off your Axis and Allies career with a pretty decent record. Starting off in gold is pretty impressive. But that's going to help you. Also, again, with the U.S. play, it's one thing to build up your fleet every single turn, but the point of the U.S. is to get close enough where you can sacrifice transports and block. So what you want to do is you want to sacrifice transports ideally. Now, I made it very difficult for you, granted, but most times you're going to get away with this against an inexperienced Japan player, is to basically send your transports and sack them on these 2 islands here. And if you can get the British in there, the British in one of them too. And then you go back and you come back, and then what you do is you grab this territory, use the British as part of your defending force, and you hope like hell you can defend it long enough to build a complex where you can build ships and then keep matching the Japanese energy. That's typically how you do a KJF. He didn't do that. He wanted to own the territory and possess it. Now, I understand he sacked his transports here, but these were pointless sacks because you couldn't defend them. You sacked and then moved off. If you had have stayed here, Remember, I couldn't attack you, but you couldn't attack me either. So we were basically deadlocked. We both didn't have enough to attack each other, but we had plenty to defend each other. Although I had the slight advantage in attacking power than you did. But uh, yeah, if you would have been in a position where you would have dared me to fight you, I wouldn't have been able to extend resources to retake these important territories that you got from me as the British. Again, another thing, you had all of these dudes here and actually had nobody practically in China. You should have made me pay for that a little earlier and more often. Instead of going this way, you should have been going this way. That would have made things very, very difficult for the Japanese player to stop that and defend the island, the main island of Japan. So just some words of wisdom there for you, and you can apply that. Also, way too many tanks, way too many planes. You should have been building. I understand the complex here. It made sense, but infantry's okay, and then save. Save until you can build that fleet that the Germans don't want any business attacking. That's what you want to do. Although you waited too long for it, because all I had to do is once I saw you building this fleet, I could have just kept building one sub per turn or a bomber per turn. The bomber probably more preferably, because the bomber could be used in the field of play. So once you lose that fleet, that advantage, and I understand this was a misclick in C Zone 6. Those transports, I get that. We've all done that, dude. I feel you. We've all made that mistake. But this one happened to be a major mistake for you, and it's a mistake that you never recovered from. So that's not a criticism necessarily. It's just maybe, take an extra second to look at what you did. I always do that, second, sanity check, I think I call it. I think that's what John Roberts calls it, a sanity check. Other than that, my gameplay was fine. It wasn't stellar. Like I said, I made mistakes. I was worried the entire game that you were gonna, especially when I made that mistake and I had to, especially when you forced me back to Karelia, or I think it was West Russia and Karelia earlier in the game. You had ample opportunity to spread out. The Japanese were not going to be able to fight you off. They would have been able to fight you with what they had in China, which I think was 7 or 8, 9 units, but you would have easily burned through those, and Japan just couldn't reinforce. They can't do both. They can't reinforce China and defend against a massive USA fleet buildup. That's all you did was build ships. Japan can't do both. They can't defend against that and maintain a presence in China. So remember that. Remember the math. Remember how to make the Japanese feel uncomfortable. Force them into uncomfortable positions where they have to choose. The lesser of two evils, I guess is the right way to say it. Other than that, I think it was a pretty good game. I hope you learned a little bit from it. I did. I always learn a little something from every game. I learned to pay attention here a little bit more now. Not to say that I won't make that same mistake again, but losing 3 fighters was a kind of a big deal at the time. Especially when I was already drawing numbers of like 86%. I was ready to go in at 86%, but because of this, I think he killed like 4 tanks and 3 fighters. That ended that. Forced me into another round. But basically, this is a round 14, round 15 attack on Moscow, and really not much you can do about it. So yeah, so we'll leave that game here. I won't be starting a game this weekend, guys. Gonna be too busy this weekend. But I will start a game early next week at some point, and we'll try and get into the platinum. Trying to get into platinum at some point during this season. So as always, I appreciate your patronage. I always appreciate a sub if you feel within your heart you could give me one, and always hit the like button, subscribe, and notifications bell. And we'll come back on our next game. Thanks for watching, everybody, and peace out.